I'm going to show you how to make a mandala that looks a little bit like a flower. And this mandala will have exactly 12 sections, just like I told you you need to for your color wheels. First thing you need to know is where the center is. If your paper is not marked, then use a ruler to find the center exactly in the middle both ways so that your circle ends up in the middle of your paper and not too close to one edge or the other. Take your compass and make sure that the center point is showing in the middle of that little brass ring, like so. Put your finger firmly on that spot. Test out to see that your compass can slide easily. This is super important before you begin. And use a sharp pencil. A mechanical pencil actually works really good for this if you don't have a death grip on it. We don't want the lead to break. Sometimes kids break off the leads of their pencils. If you have a hard time not breaking the lead of your mechanical pencil, then switch to a regular pencil. Just make sure it's a very, very sharp. On the compasses that I have for you, there is already one of the slots that's marked with a black ring around it. That is the one we want to use because it will fit on our paper nicely. It makes a good big circle. Notice how I go underneath my arm to finish it over there. And just go back this way to make sure that it goes all the way around. And notice how nice and what a good size our circle is. The other reason to use the marked slot is because now we know exactly what our radius is. Remember, we talked about what a radius of a circle is earlier, and that you need to use the radius of your circle in order to find your 12 equal points. First, we're going to find our first 6, and you're going to begin by making a little mark at the top of your circle. Okay, mark it like that. And then you're going to put the center of your compass, whoops, make sure it's facing the right way. Put the center of your compass on that dot, like so, okay? And for some of the other designs, all we're going to do is mark the edge of the circle, but for this design, to make it look like a flower, we're actually going to draw a line that goes all the way through the center of our circle. Now you can test it to make sure it's going to hit the center of your circle by looking through that dot. I don't really want to make my camera start wiggling, so I'm not going to zoom in for you. But if you can see that dot through this slot, then you're in the right place, okay? And you'll know that that's going to be perfectly aligned. Start at the edge of your circle, go all the way through until you touch the other edge of your circle like that. So you get this half of a circle that goes through the center. Now this place right here, I will zoom in for this because you need to see exactly what this is going to do. Right there at the exact place that that line touches the edge of your circle, right at that exact spot will be your next circle. Okay, so now you're going to put your compass on that new spot like so, and see if I can stop this from wiggling and show you what happens. When you draw this next one, again, double check, make sure that you're going right through the middle here, but start on the edge and go like this through. Okay, it should hit that first spot exactly, and as we go along, we're going to keep doing the same thing. So you're going to go to the next one like so, and to the next one. Every time I'm making sure to get right exactly on that spot. Double check that it goes through the center. It still does. Good job. And keep going until you can see all of your petals. Double check. Yes, sir. There it goes. And go to the next one. Now it seems like you're not going to be making a line here because this petals are already formed, but you still need this petal and that petal to form. So you have to go one more time, a little farther than what you think you're supposed to. Okay, now look at that. It looks a little bit like a flower, but it only has 6 petals, and we need 12 colors for our color wheel. So we need to make 6 more. And I like to be precise. So I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to measure to find the exact center between these 2 points. So this is going to be my ruler here. Oh, sorry. Sometimes this camera just drives me crazy. Okay, so here is my ruler, and notice that this is the place right here where the measuring starts. Don't line up the end of your ruler. Use this little spot right here on one point, and then it should be exactly 4 inches. The reason I chose this measurement to make your circle with is because that happens every time. So make sure it's exactly even. Now, actually, mine isn't exactly 4 inches. If you notice, if I slide it over a little bit, it's 1/8 of an inch off. So I'm just gonna slide it back 1/16 of an inch. So I have exactly the same space here as I do there. And then if I mark it at the 2, that will be exactly between those 2 points. Now I'm gonna take that mark and I'm going to line it up with the center of my circle right here, and then I can tell that right there is the point that I want to use as my starting point. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the exact same thing I just did again, and then it'll be finished. I'll go fast. So we'll take it there, make sure it touches the center. Oops, it doesn't there. Now it does. Okay. You got to make sure it touches the center, otherwise it's not going to work, okay? Go to the next one. Did you see how I I drew kind of past the edge of my circle there? It's okay if that happens to you. You can just make sure you're using this spot as your starting point, not the end of that line, because you want it to be, double check that it's hitting your center, but you want it to be exact and precise. Okay, the same thing happens if you don't go far enough. Right here, I didn't quite go far enough to hit it, so that's my spot right there. Make sure it hits the center. It does. And you're going to keep going all the way around just like we did the first time. And I think I have one more. And voila, you have a nice mandala that looks like a flower petal. Now let me tell you that when we go to the next stage and you start painting this, I do want you to add some points of interest to this design. I don't want you to keep this design exactly as a flower because that's way too simple and way too plain. Everybody can do this and yours will look just like everybody else's. I want you to be creative and try to find some way of making this flower design into something unique and different from what other people are doing. One thing you could do is you could connect some of these points of interest with each other, because if you look right here, there is a place at the tip of each one of these baby petals that you could connect with lines with these other points of interest. You can connect them with each other. You can make all kinds of designs with a ruler by connecting these little different points of interest with each other. You could also, let me erase that line. You could also make another circle on your color wheel. You could even make several circles. And then you'll have even more points of interest, because every time that circle crosses one of these petals, you get another point of interest, and you can connect those dots to each other with different patterns, and you can create something that looks original and different and fun. Let's see what happens if I make an X right here. And then you get even more shapes in there, and it can look interesting. But you should think of some ways that you can add details to this design to make it more original and more unique. Something that's your own creation.